UCC, Atheist Society, LGBT Society and Labour Society are holding on inclusive education in Ireland. We have two, I'm pleased to say we have two very distinguished speakers tonight. Firstly, we're going to have Paul Rowe, who is the CEO of Educate Together, which is a multi-denominational school system in Ireland which provides both primary and second level education. And secondly, we will have PZ Myers, who is a professor at the University of Mars in Minnesota and also a well-known web blogger on secularism, religion and politics. Both of these men are going to talk about the importance of inclusive education at primary or second level. Paul is going to speak first primarily about the Educate Together sector, which is what he runs effectively, and where he sees that going forward. And then PZ is going to give us a flavour of how the American system differs, how the fact that there is a constitutional separation of church and state in America influences the school system there, and how it differs from the Irish model insofar as he can tell us about that. Michelle from the UCC LGBT Society is just going to say a few words on behalf of her society on the relevance of their participation in this week and what it means to them. So I'll just ask Michelle to say a few words.
I suppose, what does it mean to the LGBT society here in UCC? Well, I mean, we've got like all these wonderful equality provisions like the 2000 Equality Act or the Equal Status Act, and like, you know, you think, you know, being LGBT, like, it doesn't really, you know, affect your life in most ways, and you think, okay, like, there's legal protection for you, and then you find out that anyone who wants to go on and become a teacher, and like, we'd have a lot of members who might be considering teaching as a future career, they can be like sacked from their jobs effectively because under the equality provision, religious schools can discriminate on the basis of lifestyle, and being LGBT or T is considered lifestyle under this. So, I mean, the fact to effectively being fired is kind of shocking in this day and age when you think that there is so much other wonderful equality provisions. And as well, like, any of us who kind of grow up and have children can be refused entry to schools, possibly. Like, I mean, there's never been a case taken on this. So, I mean, the LGBT society would really kind of see this as a barrier that needs to be overcome, and we would see like a secular element in education where, you know, everyone is treated equally regardless of, you know, different equality provisions. And we don't think that schools, just because they're religious run, or, you know, the religious run schools should be allowed to discriminate on this basis. So, I mean, that's kind of why we really would encourage this, and why we're really proud to take part in this conference.
Yeah, thanks to Michelle for that. I'll ask Paul to go up now, so he's the first speaker, and he's going to talk about the Educate Together sector. Okay.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's been a while since I had a chance to say anything of any consequence in UCC, but one of the founders of Educate Together was the head of the Department of Education here up until quite recently, Professor on Ireland. Okay, Educate Together. What is Educate Together? Educate Together is a modern Irish-developed educational charity which delivers primary education at the moment only, which is based on the principle of equality. There's a lot of words around multi-denominational education, about co-educationalism, child-centeredness, and the principle of participatory democracy in the way in which we define our model. But essentially, it boils down to, and it is built from a principle of human rights and equality, and that is that we take the way in which we run our schools from the principle that we oblige ourselves to deliver equality of access and esteem to children, irrespective of their social, cultural, or religious backgrounds. And if you take one idea away from what I'm going to say to you this evening, which defines Educate Together, it is that idea. We started in 1975. We opened our first school in 78. Sorry, there's one guy asking me questions.
Yeah. How many of your schools are in disadvantaged areas?
We actually have the largest percentage of any sector in Irish education which have dash band 1 and 2 status. So we have, currently, we have 22% of our schools actually have dash or dash status. Also, 14% of our schools operate assisted learning units or autism units, which is also the highest percentage of any other any sector of primary education in Ireland. So that is the reason why, in actual fact, when I said quality of access and esteem, irrespective of the social, cultural, and religious background. In the media, obviously, the big issue is religious, is how we deal with religion in our schools. But it's very important to see that this is an equality and human rights model, and the way in which we address religion actually flows from that and not the other way around. As I said, we started in 75, our first school opened in 78. Up until 1999, we had to fundraise to buy the sites for any school that we opened, and as a result, the growth of the Educate Together sector was very circumscribed. Since 1999, the state has actually started to provide buildings for our schools, and you have seen, well, we have seen a huge increase in the number of our schools. In 2008, we opened 12 schools alone, and we currently now have 56 primary schools. There is about 11,200 children educated in our schools throughout the country. It has a genuine national spread. The spread of our schools is generally around the centres of gravity of population, but for example, we have 4 in the Cork area, 2 of which opened in 2008, and around half of the schools are in what we would euphemistically call the Greater Dublin area, or the commuter belt. So, getting into the nitty-gritty, we set up schools around that principle of equality, and this directly impinges on how we deal with the question of faith formation and religious education in our schools. Those of you who be familiar with the structure of Irish education will be aware that the patron, or the concept of the patron, and the legal role of the patron is an incredibly important role. We took what was an inherently hierarchical structure and injected the democratic structure of a company limited by guarantee into that structure. We managed to establish our first schools without a single change of a single regulation of the Department of Education. But if you look at the power of that patron, as the previous speaker indicated, must approve the appointment of all staff in an Irish national school, appoints 2 members of the Board of Management to that school, appoints as exclusive choice as to who is the chair of the Board of Management of the school, appoints the full board, and has to itself, to its exclusive power, 1.5 hour of contact time with all children in the school per day, or 2.5 hours per week. Those of you who have gone through Catholic national schools in Ireland will be familiar with the Alive O programme, which is the Catholic programme which is delivered in that period. And those of you who went to Protestant schools or Church of Ireland, Methodist or Presbyterian schools will be familiar with the Follow Me programme. Because of this opportunity, or curricular opportunity, Educate Together has developed its own ethical education curriculum, which is called the Learn Together curriculum, which is what defines the ethos that we deliver in our schools and is delivered in that particular half-hour period. The Learn Together curriculum has 4 strands. It deals with questions of moral and spiritual development. It deals with questions of justice and equality, which is the 2nd strand. It has a 3rd strand, which is belief systems, and a 4th strand, which is ethics and the environment. And I just want to sort of loosely go over these strands, just to give you a flavour of what actually is delivered in an Educate Together school. The first fundamental concept is that we address diversity from the point of view of rights. In Irish education, we have a great facility to use the term inclusion. We have a great facility to use the term tolerance, and we have a great facility to use the term accommodation. If you look at the dictionary definition of these terms, you see that these are all negative standpoints. If you look at the dictionary definition of tolerance, you'll see the first thing is an ability to withstand pain. The question of equality